to start with my joke this morning. And how many of you liked last week when we started talking about that cosmic event that's coming, and that David Wilcox is talking about, and the Bible's talking about? We're going to talk about something else this week. We're going to talk about parallel universes, which I've also been studying. But I want to start with this a joke. A girl was having a dream. So she goes into a psychiatrist and she said, I keep having this dream. I'm not on, I don't think.
Yes, you are.
Am I?
Yeah, you are.
I keep having this dream, and I go through these corridors and these big, beautiful jeweled doors, and I keep trying to go through them. I pull, and they just won't open. And then I go to the next door. I push, and they just won't open. And then I go to the next door, and I push, and the door won't open. And it's like at night after night, and I keep going through these corridors and where these doors are. And so the psychiatrist said, well, give me a clue. Does the door say anything when you're pushing it? And he said, yes, there are some letters on it. And he said, what is it? What are the letters? And he says, P-U-L-L. I said that to say we're going to talk about dreams today a little bit too. You know, we are really on the precipice of understanding the universe, understanding our life and our part in the universe like never before. I mean, what you and I are talking about, our grandparents would not have a clue about, even those that were, partially awakened, because information is so radically changing. Our concepts are so radically changing, and it's coming, and our minds, what's amazing to me is like the Mayan calendar, that it comes at a perfect time where consciousness can understand it. I'm now studying something called the Emerald Tablets, which are so profound and go right along with the Bible. In fact, they're 25, and I'm way ahead of myself, but they're 25,000 years or more, up to 50,000 years older than the Bible, and they have all the same things that the Bible has in them. Just so profound. But we are in the precipice of understanding things like we never have before. But man's problem has been, we have so clung to these bodies. We think it's all about this earth suit that we've come to. So we put everything in these bodies that we have. We look at others and we identify them by how they look, instead of really seeing that we are not a body. But we're coming to that realization. I'm going to tell you some things today that as I was studying this, I was thinking of all the examples that have happened in my life about what this is all about. And then we see when we die and we go away, we cling to these bodies, and we just can't wait to get reunited with the same old body that person left with. But I think we're going to be very surprised. First of all, I think we come back in families many, many times in different disguises. So it's never going to be probably the same disguise that the person left with. But anyway, it's all because we've had a limited view of who we are. We always say the only problem is that we haven't really seen oneness. But another problem is you don't really know truthfully, fully, completely who you are. And when we can see ourselves as multidimensional, which I'm going to talk about today, and we can see through some of the illusions that we've held up, what I want to do is expand myself and expand your consciousness to see yourself and see what's going on in this realm in such a greater dimension. But we've been indoctrinated by religion with this concept of a separation, that we have to get to God, all of these things, that we are not connected. And we've been indoctrinated by that. You don't have to get to God. God has always been right in here. And the mystery is in these earthen vessels. So, but I remember when you quit going to church or did things, they'd say they fell back or they separated or whatever. You can never separate from God, and that's what we've learned. But religion has taught us that we're physical bodies, and they've taught us that we die. Because what's the big thing? A big funeral, isn't it? And we look at that person in the box and we think they're in the box. Hello, they're not in the box. I just had an aunt that died, and I thought, the amount of money and everything that we now put into all that stuff is unbelievable, because we are trying to honor that physical body, not really understanding the reality of who we are, and that's what I want to talk about today. But quantum physics and ancient teachings are unveiling we are not a body. We are photon light energy. That's who you are. And I'm going to try to give you some examples today of how I think we can really see that in a bigger way. You're a photon, and it's that energy that operates your body. So, I want to give an example. I want to take a car. Let's take a car. I want to paint a picture for you so you can kind of see more that you are not your body. You remember when gas stations used to come and fill up your car, which they don't anymore? Remember they used to come and say, how much do you want? Well, they didn't ask your car, did they? They asked you how much you wanted. And then, do you remember? Because you're the one that's important. And when you turn off your car and you get out of your car doesn't keep running, does it? Because you're the one that's operating that car. And how many of you when your car died, have you ever had a car that just died on you on the side of the street? Either a colored car, a blue car, a red car, something like that, just died, and you had to have it hauled away, or else it just stopped on you. What did you do? You didn't go with the car to the dump, did you? You went and got another car. Can it be that what we're talking about, that you are the driver of the body, and that you are the one that keeps going on? And could it be when we leave this body that we just go and pick up another one? You know, I think Yeshua showed us that in the Bible. You know, after the crucifixion, they never recognized him because I think he took up many bodies, anybody he wanted. And we are so tied to these physical bodies. But everything in this three-dimensional realm is really a picture for us to see past the illusion, if we can. So could this picture be a greater reality for us to really understand what life's all about? You know, we say we're not our bodies, but we care for our bodies, which we should, but we put so much emphasis on the body. And when a person leaves, we just think that person has gone. But they've left. I love what it used to say, Elvis has left the building. And that's exactly what happened. We leave a building. I remember when I was with my mother, and I've been with many people as they left a body, not died, but left that particular body. And I remember thinking that moment, it's like a turtle that leaves a shell. It's like a person when you get out of your car. You just get out of that particular vehicle that's driving you along, and you either pick up another vehicle, or maybe, we don't know everything, but you either pick up another vehicle, because many of us have come back and back. So we're learning about the true nature about what is life. You know, Bruce Lipton, I went to a 2-day seminar many years ago, Sharon went too, and he wrote a book called The Biology of Belief, and he used to teach at a medical school, and he began to see that we're treating all these causes. He said, we're treating the car instead of what drives the car. And he said, what drives the car is so much more powerful than the car, because everything that drives the car is creating what's happening in the car. And so I never forgot that, and I thought that was such a good example. So what drives the car is quite different, and you are not just a body. You are photon energy, which is operating the vehicle you call your body. So I'm going to give you some other examples that maybe we can see a little bit more. So, and look at a person next to you right now. Just look at the person next to you. Who are they? Who would you say, if I ask you, who are they? You would say, well, he's a man, he's 6 foot tall, he does this, but that's not truth. What they are is exactly what you are. That is photon energy. And how many of you dream? How many of you have dreams in here? And I know Miles is taught on dreams, and maybe you've thought about this too. Let me ask you, what is a dream? Just in your mind right now, what would you say a dream is?
Reality.
You're right, Miles. It's something I do. This is what most people would say. Dreaming is something I do while I'm asleep. Isn't that what most of us would say? Dreaming is something I do. Okay, so you say you have to go to sleep to dream. But is that true? In a dream, you're very active, aren't you? You're doing things in a realm, and we label it a dream. So could it be the fact that you're experiencing a dream that the real you is not asleep at all? Could it be that the real you is not asleep at all? Could it be that the real you has entered another dimension, a parallel universe? And could it be that you are experiencing something in that parallel universe as you're dreaming? Could it be? I want you just to consider some of these things. That the real you is not asleep and your body's asleep, but the real you is completely aware. How many of you have had a lucid dream? Where you know it's a dream, but you're awake. Yes. Now that is really something too, isn't it? Because you're in 2 dimensions at once and you know it. You know that you're in those 2 dimensions. What we're doing right now is expanding our awareness, expanding our minds to know we are so much greater than we ever thought. And when we're in these dreams, we're participating with all kinds of people. We're doing all these amazing experiences. So if you're really asleep, how are you doing all that? If you're really asleep, have you ever thought about that? See, we just take these traditional things, we go to sleep and we have these dreams that don't mean anything. But could they be something that's really stretching us to begin to develop our psychic abilities? To really begin to develop discernment that we enter different realms? And that we begin to see and know that we are multidimensional people? You see, this information, I'm going to read some things from professors today. I want to say, while I was doing this, I was thinking about Sharon Johnson, who lost her husband a few years ago. And I remember one of the first dreams Sharon had. She said, you know, I was standing on the shore and I saw Carl, and he was in this boat out in the water having a blast. He looked good, he looked young, he looked healthy. And, you know, I said, come on in, and he couldn't come in. But she said, I knew he was having a blast. And then recently she had a dream, and she said, Carl came to me and he was talking to me and everything, and she said, oh, I want you to stay. He says, no, I'm on a base right now and I'm doing something very important, I can't stay. Now what was all that about? You know, on a base right now, doing something very important and I can't stay. You see, we're getting messages. We're beginning to see, where is Carl? And what's happening there? Could he be in another parallel universe? You know, years ago we had a woman that came here not too long ago. Her name was Sandy Young. And she used to travel with me when I spoke in churches and women's group and things. She would predict all of these things, and her predictions always were right. And I remember we had a boy that drowned at the marina and during the time, and she would get these prophecies or predictions or visions, and she would write them down for the parents. And one of these visions said, his name was Jeff, and he said, I'm boating and fishing and living my life all over again. And I thought, what is that all about? This was probably about 15 years ago. And I thought, living your life all over again. And she had given it to the parents. And I thought, I think back on that now, and what he was saying is, I'm in another dimension, having more experiences, life goes on, and I'm here doing all the things that I was doing in that dimension, but I'm just doing it in another dimension and you can't see it. But I think as we become aware of this, and what's happening to Sharon, that veil is coming so thin that those dimensions are going to come and implode upon one another, and we are going to be able to really see what's going on those. So this is a clue that there may be more than one of you. When you're in these dreams, could there be more than one of you? That's here you are in the bed, your body's asleep, but there you are out there climbing a mountain, flying. How many of you had those flying dreams? Because you can fly. You know, I think of Eben Alexander, Dr. Alexander, and how his near-death experience, same thing, another dimension. His body was in a coma, but he was having this phenomenal experience of flying through the air and seeing all these colors. He said, you just don't, in this other dimension, the colors were so vibrant and everything. But the dream is just like a near-death experience. We enter another dimension. And if you set your intentions, you can really experience some phenomenal things. But also, could it be that when a person dies or shuts down, that he immediately just goes in another car? Like Carl. He just left one, got in a boat. I want to say a dream my husband had years ago, too. Now, I think the dream was for me, because he told it to me. And I got all excited. I don't think he saw the profoundness of it. But years ago, he had a dream. He always watches these things on Hitler, Mussolini, and World War I, and all that stuff, too, and all that. So he had this dream, and in this dream, there was Hitler. And he was all dressed up in his Nazi uniform, and he was taking care of all these children and feeding all these children. And my husband said to this lady that was there with him, says, isn't that Hitler? I mean, he killed all those people in, you know, World War II and everything. What's he doing with children? And she said, oh, he loves children. He's crazy about children. That was just the part he was playing. And he only wore his uniform so you could recognize him in this dream. He really doesn't wear that uniform at all. And then he saw Mussolini, and they were getting along and everything, and he said, well, what, he was also, you know, a dictator and terrible. He said, oh no, that was just the part he was playing. He really loves people, blah, 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 blah. And then he said to her, yeah, but what about all these children that are so mangled and retarded? And so she holds up this picture and she said, like this person? And he said, yeah. And she said, that was me in that lifetime. And that's the part I played for other people. So you see, what he was seeing is what was going on in another dimension. Kind of explaining that even what dimensions you're in right now, you could be doing something entirely different, making entirely different decisions, you know, doing things entirely different. We are here in this moment in time to expand our consciousness, expand our awareness, to take in these possibilities. You know, it's like the 4-minute mile. Nobody could, you know, make that mile in 4 minutes until that guy did it. And once he did it, people do it, I don't know what it is now, but I know it's probably half of that. And you and I are breaking through like that to make a portal for others. You know, I was thinking about a scripture in the Bible that says, we don't grieve like those in the world grieve. Because we know. We're beginning to know that we are photon energy which cannot die. It cannot be destroyed. It can only be transmuted. So we're beginning to see that. So do you even believe there's such thing as parallel universes? I know Miles does. I know he does because I know he teaches on it. But how many of us really believe there could be such things as parallel universes? Well, I know I do because I've experienced it in dreams. You know, I know that. So let me quote. This is Professor David Douchret of Oxford University in England, who is an authority on parallel universes. And listen to what he says. Our twins in parallel universes are just as real as we are. The notion that our world is somehow more real is derived not from experience, since each world seems to be equally real to its inhabitants, nor from quantum mechanics. In an absolute sense, there are no splits at all, and no moments when your unseen counterpart can no longer affect your life. So what is that saying? It's saying that your other dimensional bodies, there's never a moment when they're not affecting your life. That's a profound statement. That we're being affected by other dimensions at this moment right now. There's no moment when your other selves are not impacting you in some way. If we could only begin to see this. You know, I've talked about the color red. You can't have the color red without an invisible green. You know, what a picture that is. You wouldn't be here if there wasn't invisible counterparts other places. It's just so profound. So, so think about the next time you have a dream. No moment is you're not being affected. My experience, I told this before, but maybe one or two haven't you heard about this. When we first moved in this building, we went to Staples to get some paper. And as I walked in the building, there was this big sign that said 1 cent paper, 1 cent paper. So I picked the paper up and I thought it was so heavy. I said, you know what, I'm going to go to the back of the store and get the other things I need, and then I'm going to come and pick up a couple of these 1 cent papers. I couldn't believe it. So I go to the back of the store, I come back, and the sign says $3.98. I said, $3.98, and I walked all the way down the aisle. I said, maybe I got the wrong place where the stand was. You know, so I walked all the way down. I could not find one thing that said 1 cent paper. So I went to the girl at the cash register and I said, let me ask you a question. Was there ever a sign up there? Did you just change that display? Was there a sign up there that said 1 cent paper? She said, not that, I just came on a little bit ago. And she said, I didn't see it. So I didn't think anything else about it. But as I was going out, I went to another cashier and I said, let me just ask you a question. Was there ever a sign up there that said 1 cent paper? And she said, yes, but we took it down before the store opened this morning. So what happened there? I stepped out of time. You see, time is not this solid thing that we believe it to be. And we're beginning to have those experiences if we're open to them. And had I not had somebody else with me, I would have said, you know what, I'd probably just imagine that. But the other person with me stopped at the counter as I picked up the paper. It was a huge 1 cent sign. Saw the sign too. So things are happening. So this guy is saying that there's other venues and unseen worlds where you are. And this is another thing. Physicist Fred Wolf says holographic models explain lucid dreaming. And he believes dreams are actually visits to parallel universes. And how many of us have had those kind of dreams where it's been so real, we walked up a mountain or carried, now this is the thing too, and I know Miles teaches this, those dreams are impacting our life here too, because they carry a message for us in this dimension. Because no matter how many dimensions there are, it says they're never not impacting us. So those dreams always have a message for us. So he says this, it's like a holographic model, and he believes they're actually visits to parallel universe. The holographic model used ultimately allows us to develop our psychic consciousness, which will enable us to explore these other levels of existence. So if we become aware of this, and when we're dreaming, and when we're having these experiences, and when we're open to this, what it's helping us is to develop these psychic abilities that we'll be able to go into these other dimensions and experience these other dimensions. What's holding us back is a belief system. The only thing that's holding us back is we don't believe it. We've been taught by religion and tradition, and we just don't believe it. So I tell you, we're in a day like no other. And I've been studying something which I want to talk about just a little bit. I'm going to probably teach on this, but they're called the Emerald Tablets. And this, when we have that statement, as above, so below, that came not from the Bible, but that really came from these emerald tablets. And they're said to have the secrets of prima marta, which is the first matter, and its transmutation, which means they hold the secrets of alchemy. They hold the secrets of turning matter back into spirit. And these tablets are so identical to the Bible. It's about two brothers. Hello, Genesis 1, two brothers. About genetic engineering, about a flood. It's just, I'm going to read a couple of little statements. Unbelievable, but the thing is, they're between 25 and 50,000 years before the Bible. So who wrote them? Who wrote the Bible? See, these are questions. You know what? We're in an age, we got to throw all the stuff away, everything we've believed, because we are coming into such amazing, the Bible said this, in the end time, in other words, as time is swallowed up, knowledge is going to increase. What took hundreds of years is taking 10 years now. It's just unbelievable. So these tablets are profound. These tablets are said to be found under the pyramids, and they're imperishable. And they said they were left for a future age of light. For a time, mankind would reach atonement within themselves. And isn't that interesting? That the Jews walked through all of those holy days, and the one just before Tabernacles, which is man and God and one, was called atonement, which is at one-ment. And these tabernacles talk about a time that within ourselves we will be at one. Atonement within ourselves. Atonement is not a holiday that we celebrate outside of ourselves. Atonement is something that's happening within humanity. It's phenomenal. And like I said, it's about two brothers, about a flood, all of those things. So let me just share a little bit from the seventh tablet. It begins like this. Listen to my voice and open your mind space and drink of my wisdom. Open your soul to the cosmic and let it flow in as one with your soul. Light is eternal and darkness is fleeting. Always be looking for the light. As light fills your being, darkness for you shall soon disappear. So it's directing us that our inner being must be in harmony with the cosmos, must become one with this cosmos. Why are we being called back to nature? Why are we being compelled to lay in our lawns, go to the beach, be with trees? Because it's calling us back to really become one with all of these things. And as light fills us, darkness will disappear. And it says, open your soul. What is your soul? Do we hear that word all the time? Have we ever questioned that? What is it? It's photon electric light. It's the true you. That's what your soul is. So how do we open our soul? We remember Richard with the light machine. And remember, people are now gazing at light early in the morning. They're sun gazing at night and sun gazing at night and trying to penetrate the pituitary gland, that third eye, with light. That's exactly what's happening. As we open, it begins to fill us with light. As we stimulate the electrons in our third eye, we absorb photons, which is light energy, which opens more and more light within our bodies. People are awakening to all these things. So for many, here's the key. In a world and life, darkness comes and goes, but light is the only thing eternal. And you know, there really is no darkness. Many of you know this. Darkness is only an absence of light. There's no frequency to darkness. The only thing that can be measured is light, because darkness is just absence of light. So all this stuff we see, when we major on that, we're empowering it. When we withdraw and put our energy on the light, we're empowering the light. And Jesus said this, and I've used this 1,000 times, in the world, you're going to have tribulation. You're going to have frequencies of light, and then, you know, you're going to have ups and downs of light and darkness. But be of good cheer. I've overcome that frequency. I've overcome that reality. You don't have to live in that world of duality. You too can focus on the light. And he said, if your eye be single, your whole body will fill with light. So when we begin to impart this pituitary glands, when we fill it with that light from being out in nature, when we fill it with light by always being in the positive and reading positive and doing that, our body begins to fill with that light. And that's where the transmutation is really going to come. We're learning all these things. And it said, seek first the kingdom, which is in you. So what we're doing is seeking what's in us and having that light expand. Your whole body is going to fill with light. And this is what the Emerald Tablet said 50,000 years ago. Light is eternal. Darkness is fleeting. Always be looking for the light. As light fills your being, darkness for you shall disappear. So as we're looking for the light, going after the things that are light, the darkness within us begins to dissipate and disappear. So, such a message from the Emerald Tablets. It's the same message with the Bible. Let me read more from the Emerald Tablets. Listen to this. Open your souls, now listen to this, to the brothers of brightness. Let them enter and fill you with light. Lift up your eyes to the light of the cosmos. Keep your face always looking to that goal. Only by gaining the light of all wisdom are you with the infinite goal. Seek ever the oneness eternal. Seek ever the light of one. So what are the brothers of light that we're supposed to be seeking? And I started thinking about that. What are these brothers of brightness that we're supposed to be opening to? Could it be photon particles of light that they're encouraging us to open to this light? What I see for years, I don't know, how many of you, when you're on the water, you can see, if you squint your eyes a little bit, you can see all these little tiny little things dancing, like little tiny particles. I've seen that from a young girl, I've seen that. But now I'm seeing it when I walk in the day. And I don't have to be over the water. If I just take my eyes just a little bit, the world is alive. And you can see it. It's like these little things that blink in and out. Just the whole sky is full of them. If you've never seen them, go to the water and just put your eyes a little bit like that, and you'll begin to see them. And as you cultivate that sight, you're going to see them everywhere. It's so phenomenal. So scientifically, a photon is light. And listen to how it's defined, how science defines a photon. Now listen. A messenger particle. Light, a photon, is a messenger particle. So this is really giving us a clue. So we have all known about angels, haven't we? Could there be a bigger message here? And this is what I was thinking about too. Could there be some greater understanding about angels instead of being literal beings and how they relate to us? In religion, what were they called? God's what? Who knows? Messengers. And they were called angels of light, weren't they? Well, those are two good clues for us, aren't they? So our first clue, angels of light. And in the word angle and angels are derived from the same word. So scientifically, a photon is defined as a messenger of light. And because of gravity, those photons of light enter our earth realm through these angles into our earth realm. So divine messages come as angels of light that we can absorb. These light particles that are coming into our earth at angles are these brothers of light particles that we can begin to absorb and get messages from. when we follow the ways to absorb this light, it will deliver message. And now, you're not going to believe this. Now listen to this. I was studying about the brain and everything. By arching between the synapses in our brain, so guess what scientifically light becomes? An archangel. Because it connects the things in our brain electrically. It's opening us to messages. You know, all this stuff with the pulsation of light and gazing at the sun and being out in the morning and all that stuff, it's scientific evidence. And what did the ancients worship? The sun, the light. But what we're learning is so much more. So this synapse makes us a direct electrical communication in our brain between neurons. So we're not talking about religion. We're not talking about something we're talking about what science is saying. That when we're looking at that light begins to open portals and bring us messages. How many of you go out in the morning and gaze at the sun? I mean, how many of you are drawn to the light? You know, how many of you, it's like we don't want to be inside anymore. It's like we want to be outside. So there is that brothers of brightness. They don't have wings and they don't have bodies because they're proton or light energy. And have you ever thought about this? Think of the angels, the name of the angels, and Reba can probably add something to this. Michael, Gabriel, even Jesus, Emmanuel. They all have that E-L on the back of their name, which goes to electric energy, light energy, photon. All about bringing those messages. You know, Mary, who came to Mary? Gabriel. You know, could it be a message from a higher dimension of connecting to that light that we can all do too? And guess what? You're all birthing the same thing. You are well pleased to the divine, and you are birthing the Christ. We are all getting that same message. But look at all those angels' names. It always goes to that EL, pointing to that high electric light energy that opens portals in our brain. So I want to end with some quotes from an article by Paul Steinhardt, who is Albert Einstein Professor of Science at Princeton University. Well, let me just read these. Everything you are about to read, this is from an article he wrote, here seems impossible and insane, beyond science fiction, yet it's all true. These other universes contain space, time, and strange forms of exotic matter. Some of them even contain you in a slightly different form. For years, parallel universes were staples of the Twilight Zone. Science fiction writers love to speculate on the possibilities other universes which might exist. In one they say Elvis Presley might be alive. In another, the British Empire might be going strong. Serious scientists dismissed all this speculation as absurd. But now it seems that the speculations weren't absurd enough. Parallel universes really do exist. And they are much stranger than even the science fiction writers dared to imagine. Why are you experiencing these strange dreams? Why is all this information coming to us? To stretch us, that we can begin to consider those things and really see. So we're here. The bottom line is, it's impossible for you to sleep. You never sleep. You know, I was thinking of a scripture too. It says the God of Israel never sleeps or slumbers. And guess who? Israel? That's also about an energetic thing. But you are God. And in reality, you never slumber. You never sleep. Your body might lay down. Your body might go to sleep, just like death. What a picture that is. When we sleep, it's the same picture as death. Identical is the same picture. You just go to another parallel universe and do your thing in other realms and other dimensions. The same thing when your body finally just shuts down like a car. You just leave the body. Elvis has left the building and on to another parallel universe. I wonder if he's singing over there. Who knows? But anyway, we are getting these pictures. The Bible says the Lord never sleeps and never slumbers. No one has ever been asleep. We are all photon energy. And when we can begin to really wrap our consciousness around that and begin to try to see past what people look like, and begin to know this is a body of Mary Lou for this lifetime. Who knows what bodies I've had in other lifetimes? Who knows what vehicles I've driven? You know, I have a white car. Before one time we had a red car. And now I wanted a white card. Next time I might want a male body with, who knows? Can we see that this realm is expanding us? Science is grabbing this stuff and even proving it to us that we are so much greater than we ever thought. That we should be paying attention to our dreams. Not only are they taking us to other dimensions, but they're bringing messages of light and opening our pituitary gland to light. Be sitting in the sun, in the daylight. You know, the darkness is fleeting. Go after the light. And so it is. Anybody like to add or?